As a memorial tribute, may I invite Mr. Ronnie Chan to share his memories of these two giants in science. Ronnie, please.
Usually I have the happy task of introducing this event like what Adriel did today. But sadly, I have a tough job today remembering two friends. One is a colleague of ours, Professor George Smoot. The other is a dear friend of the Hang Lung Mathematics Award, Professor C.N. Yang. Every time I call C.N., whenever he used to live in Hong Kong before he relocated to Beijing, he never said no to me, and he always showed up in our events. Professor George Smoot also has been very, very helpful to this effort of ours. Many of us know that he's a particle physicist. Many of you know that he was one of the top cosmologists. In fact, I remember one time, the co-founder of the Hang Lung Math Award is really Professor Xing-Tung Yao, the Fields medalist, and myself back 20-some years ago. And one time, Xing-Tung called me up and said, Ronnie, I am taking some big-time scientists, mathematicians, physicists to Beijing. Would you host them? And I was very, very honored and happy to do so. And one of the guests was Steve Hawking. And listen to what Steve Hawking said about George Smoot, our late chair of the steering committee. We all know that Professor Smoot studied cosmic microwave background radiation, and Stephen Hawking said the following. He said, what Professor Smoot did is the greatest discovery of the century, if not at all times. I am in no position to judge. I assume that Professor Hawking is in some position to judge. Surely, Professor Smoot's work has revolutionized cosmology, confirming that the key aspects of the Big Bang Theory. Surely, he has won the Nobel Prize 2006 in physics, together with Professor John Mehta. And we are very, very happy that in his later years, he decided to partly make Hong Kong his home. Since 2016, he was associated with the Hong Kong UST as the IAS Professor at Large, and he accepted our invitation to chair the Hang Lung Mathematics Award Steering Committee since 2021. As Susan mentioned, our inaugural chair of the steering committee was another Nobel laureate, the economist, Professor James Mirrlees. Many of you probably don't know that Sir James, his undergraduate study was in mathematics. In fact, his wife, who's also a friend of my family, complained to me that at night, Sir James would read mathematics in the bed. So we have an economist, and then we have a physicist, and finally, we now have a mathematician in the person of Professor Mok Ai-ming, who will be chairing the steering committee. I find it rather interesting that Professor Sir James Mirrlees, the 1996 Economic Nobel Laureate, was associated with the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Many of you know that he was a master of the Morningside College at Chinese University. Professor George Smoot was related to Hong Kong UST. Both of these schools are my alma mater, and of course he's a physicist. And then now we have Professor Mok Ai-ming, who is the recipient of the Future Science Prize, and he's a mathematician from Hong Kong University. Professor George Smoot wasn't just someone in name. He actually come to many of our events. In 2024, for example, when we hosted dinner for the award winners, those of you, I don't know who won today, I have no idea, but whoever won, the prize on your desk, on your table, doesn't have your name on it. So it takes some time for us to take it to the factory and etch your name on it. And then we hold a winner's dinner in the beginning of the year. And last time, Professor George Smoot came and spent an evening interacting with these young, brilliant mathematical minds. Just a few months ago, in June this year, he came and met with our chair, Adriel Chan, as well as had dinner with our team headed by our very capable MC today, and that's Susan Wong, and she and her team has done a fantastic job, and they hosted Professor George Smoot. We remember Professor Smoot fondly, but also sadly. The other person I would like to say a word is Professor Xian Yang. Since the audience here is mostly Chinese, if you're not a Chinese here, you're a scientist of sorts, either a mathematician or a physicist. No one in the world doesn't know Professor Xian Yang. Professor Yang, many of you know, received the Nobel Prize in 1957 when he was only in his 30s, together with Professor Li Zhengdao. And Professor Yang is really, really a gentleman. And as you will see from some of the photograph, he is also very, very interested in Chinese culture. So when he relocated during COVID to Beijing with his lovely wife, every time I host something inside the Forbidden City, I would call them up, and he and his wife almost invariably would come. Sadly, last year, when I called them in their Hong Kong apartment, 2 years ago when I called their Hong Kong apartment, Wong Fan told me that they have relocated to Beijing because of the weather and because of the COVID. And that was really a wonderful conversation in that as I was talking to Wong Fan, I can hear at the background, "Honey, who is calling?" And Wong Fan would say, "Honey, Ronnie is calling." And then I said, "Oh, I don't need to bother him. If he cannot come to dinner, that's okay." So I hung up. A few minutes later, the phone rang again. It was Wong Fan again and said, "Professor Yang wants to talk to you." He's truly, truly a gentleman. And so last year when I hosted dinner in Beijing, also inside of Forbidden City, I called Professor Yang again. This time, sadly, although Wong Fan answered the phone, I did not hear that familiar voice at the back that says, "Honey, who is calling?" And Wong Fan told me that sadly, Professor Yang already was quite sick in the hospital. In fact, she told me that it would be impossible for outsiders such as myself to go visit him, and I knew right then and there that my opportunity to meet Professor Yang was gone. Such are the giants of science in physics, in mathematics of this world. As one of the co-founders of Hang Lung Mathematics Award, I'm very, very honored to be associated with these great giants of science. I think their presence makes the world a better place. Their presence in Hong Kong enhances our stature as well as the training of our young minds in science and physics and mathematics. And we are very, very honored to have them with us at the Hang Lung Math Award. We will always remember them, but let's look forward. I believe that there are many, many other future Nobel laureates, many future Fields medalists. Some of them may be in this room today, I don't know. I don't know who they are. They can be either on our scientific committee or one of our students. You never know. We hope that one of these days, one of our students will follow the footsteps of Professor Smoot and Professor Yang to receive either the Nobel Prize or the Fields Medal. So finally, let me just also mention that the companion and partner of Professor George Smoot, Nora Chiza, is with us here. She put on her Chinese dress. We are very, very delighted to have her. So, Nora, would you rise to be recognized? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chan, for your poignant sharing.